The things you do before getting into a study session are really important, such that they really define how effective your study session is going to be. And not only that, they even define the probability of you actually getting into that study session. So it is really important to look at those tiny details that you do before you actually get into a study session. As the old and famous saying says, if you fail to prepare, you're actually preparing to fail. Hello everybody, my name is Simon, a second year medical student at the University of Zambia. Welcome to my channel, where I share about scientifically proven study techniques, productivity tips, and all those other things that you can use to take your studies to the next level. And in this video, I'm going to share with you 3 simple tips, quick ones, that you are going to do before you actually start studying, which are basically preparatory tips. So with all that said, let us not even waste time. Let's get into it. I decided to make this video, even though these tips really seem to be very simple and they really seem to be very basic. There are fine details, little changes which you can make to your study habits, but they are really important. And I thought of a certain, I don't know if it was a YouTube video, or I don't know where I got this information, but I remember there was a concept which was being said: if you want to build a perfect wall, you don't go out to say, let me build a perfect wall. You start laying a brick by brick perfectly. So you set out to say, I'm going to lay this brick as perfectly as I can. There is not going to be any other brick which is going to be laid better than this. Now you are a bricklayer, you are building a wall, and you just want to lay a brick perfectly. By the time you lay 1,000 bricks, you found that you are going to build a perfect wall. So these little details, it is not really good to omit them, because they really constitute the bigger things. So these details are going to supercharge now your actual big study techniques, your active recall, your spaced repetition. Before you get into those challenging tasks, remember to keep these small details before you go into a study. Number 1 on our list for today is prepare your content. So basically what I mean is prepare what you're going to study. It is really inconveniencing and rather discouraging, actually, if you would go into a study session, you don't even know what you are going to study, such that you start figuring it out all as you're already in the time where you are supposed to start studying. Most of you can actually bear witness that it feels a bit boring to start looking for the content that you have to start studying, and it is really discouraging. So it is really important that you decide beforehand what you have to study, and it is really easy. All you have to do is just have some systematic ways of choosing what to study. Have a study timetable, a simple study timetable, so you know the subjects or the courses that you are supposed to study for that specific day, of course, which can be variable. Sometimes you're going to interchange them depending on which courses need more attention for that particular day. You also choose the topic that you are going to study. And the other thing which is going to help you to choose your content before you actually start studying is especially for revision purposes, is a system just like a prospective revision plan, which I shared in my previous video on how to practically use active recall and spaced repetition. I'm sure that was part 2. So that one really shows you what you actually have to revise that day. So I check it in the morning, see what topics I have to revise for that day, and I'll decide which topics I'll be able, that is if they are numerous, I'll be able to decide which one needs more attention depending on the difficulty or how many times I've revised that topic before. Second thing on our list today is to actually prepare your study tools. Now, what I mean by tools, I just chose that word anyway. What I mean is prepare your pen, prepare your calculator, prepare your books, every single thing. These are nitty-gritty details such that we don't really think they are that important, but actually when you go into a study session and you find that you forgot your calculator, hey, it is something else. It is really discouraging actually. So it is actually very important that you remember to prepare for a study session and get your tools for that study session. Prepare them beforehand. Number 3, and the most interesting one, actually I saved this one for the last, is to actually prime or to scope your subject. Now this is something that you can use even as you start studying. When you're ready into a study session, that is also okay, but it is something that I like to do before I go into a study session. Now what priming is, for those who do not know, or scoping the subject, is going through the work you have to study to get the general idea. Now this is something that has been really underrated, and actually I used to ignore this. I knew of this some time back, but I never really used to do this. Only a few I don't know, months since I've actually in my second year, this is when I started using this technique, and it has really proven to be very effective, as in when I get into my study session. Because what happens is, once you go through the work to get the general idea, you are actually very curious to know all the details. So what happens is, even when you go into the study session, you start connecting points and adding those details to an already made framework or skeleton, or whatever you decide to call it. Now just explaining it like this, it feels very unnecessary sometimes, but I dare you to try it. Try to prime your work before you go into it. Actually, it is scientifically proven, and most people will actually advise you to do this. To go through the work, you look at the titles, the diagrams and everything, and actually read maybe the first 2 or 3 sentences of each paragraph. You get to understand the general framework of the work that you are going to study in your study session. And when you go into the study session, it is actually going to be very much easier to get through it, because the point of all of this is effectiveness. So you have to cover a lot of work in a short period of time. So saving that maybe 20 minutes or 25 minutes of priming the work is going to greatly reduce the amount of time you spend in your actual study session. This is really effective, so you should actually try it. Alright guys, that's it for today. If you like this video, remember to share, subscribe to my channel, like this video. See you next time.